time for another episode of the Inside Voice podcast. Welcome in. I had an epiphany the other day. Somebody was asking me about, the podcast, how it was going, and, kind of just wanting to know more about why I'm doing the podcast, I guess is the best way that I can put it. And I had an epiphany of, we talked a lot last week about how the Inside Voice podcast really stems from this idea and this urgency that I feel within me for people to step into who they are, to let the person that is within them, the beautiful gifts that God has given us, out into the world, like take that inside voice, that inner person that you are, and live that person out loud, and live life to the fullest, live life that is fulfilling, a life that when you get to the end of it, you really feel like, yeah, that was my life. You know what I mean? And just talking to this person, I realized that there's another level of the Inside Voice podcast, and it's really just your authentic voice and how important it is these days, especially with AI and with technology and all of this stuff online that you see that is not real. It's so important for authentic voices to come out. For me, I even think about doing this podcast in the first place. We talked about this in the early weeks of season 2. It was like, everybody does a podcast. So what is going to be different about this podcast? You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's my authentic voice that I'm putting out there. And I want to encourage you to do the exact same thing. Speak out, speak about things that are important to you. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there, whether it's, in your everyday life or online or whatever that looks like for you. Don't be afraid to just do it, to just go for it. As we get more and more into this world that just feels so much more artificial. I mean, it's even called artificial intelligence, right? People are going to be looking for truth. People are going to need you to step up and speak truth. And I think, gosh, we could do an entire episode about this. Just even, the next generation that's coming up, like it's important for whatever generation that you're in to be that voice of truth for the next generation. So that's another layer of this onion that is the Inside Voice podcast. What I want to talk about today is a phrase that I have heard so many times, especially in the personal development, personal growth world, this self-help area that I am so enamored with. It's this phrase that, again, it's been said over and over and over again, but I had a new epiphany with it that I want to share with you. Let me ask you something. Have you ever heard the phrase, how you do anything is how you do everything? Now, if your skin just got a little cringy, you kind of just went, oh, okay, you got a little tingly and maybe an adverse reaction to that phrase, I don't blame you, because I was initially motivated by a phrase like that. Then I realized how much that phrase actually sets us up for failure because it's way too daunting. You know what I mean? It makes you think well, every day's a pop quiz and here I go. And the first time that I fail, the first time I don't do something with excellence or perfection, the whole day's ruined. Everything that I've been working for just goes out the window and suddenly I'm a loser because I did one thing less than perfect. And well, now that's just how I do everything. I'm just a less than perfect, less than worthy individual. You can see how that phrase puts a lot of pressure on you. How you do anything is how you do everything. Yeah, it's a daunting thing to think about. And I think it's just because we do get a little too granular with it. We get a little too specific about it. I mean, I'm not here to come after you on whether or not you make your bed every single day. We could do a whole entire podcast of how you start your day and how that can set you up for success throughout the rest of the day. Absolutely. And I'm a person that makes my bed every single day, but I'm not alone. Okay. I actually did some research here. 71% of people, according to a survey that I found online, actually do make their bed in the morning. But that doesn't mean they do it every single day. I'm an every single day kind of person. 37% of us are walking on this earth right now. Okay, we are the ones that are diligently making the bed every single day. And again, I can make arguments of why that is important and why it can set you up for success throughout the day, but that's not the point. If you want to make your bed and you want to make your bed well every single morning, then that might be an indication of how you do everything else in your life. If we want to get back to that daunting phrase of how you do anything is how you do everything. But the epiphany that I had, don't get me wrong, this is still a heavy phrase. This is still something to think about. This is something that should serve as motivation and not something that condemns you. But rather than, oh, well, I cut somebody off in traffic, I guess, well, I'm just a jerk driver, and ultimately I'm just a jerk in life. This is more of this epiphany that I had with this phrase is, what if it's, how I do certain aspects of my life can actually determine how my life goes. What if it's more of, if I spend my nights at home every single night, those last couple of hours after dinner before I go to bed, if I spend those nights every single night binge watching or scrolling endlessly on my phone, then ultimately that's how I'm going to spend my life. I will spend my life binge watching and endlessly scrolling on my phone. I think this really comes down to a matter of, how are we spending our time? How are we showing up in our life? This phrase of how you do anything is how you do everything is not about perfection. It's not about an exam that you're taking every single day to tell you who you are as a person. It's more about intentionality. It's more about building healthy habits, about implementing, things every single day that are going to move you forward, that are going to propel you forward, that are going to help solidify those healthy habits, that are going to help you live with more intention in life. So ultimately, you can live a better life. You can live a life that is more fulfilled, a life that you don't look back on and go, man, I really wish I would have done this, or I really wish that I would have tried that. Being intentional with how we spend our time every single day, I think is what is most important here. It's about taking stock of how you are living each day so you can ultimately live each day. You know what I mean? Like, we're walking through this life sometimes just being tossed around by the wind or the waves of how the day is just going to progress on its own. And we're forgetting the fact that we have a say in what is happening each and every day. We may not have a say in everything. We may not be able to control everything, but for the most part, we can choose how we show up. This is a concept that it's not meant to ridicule you. It is more meant to inspire you. So what if we take that phrase and what if we break it down into different aspects of our lives? And I think these are things that are big in our life, that I think if we can start doing these things well, ultimately we'll do well in everything else. If we can do these things well, I think we will have a better life in the long run. So let me rephrase this. Rather than taking the sentence, how you do anything is how you do everything, what if the phrase was, how you speak to yourself is how you think about yourself? How you speak about yourself is how you value yourself. Well, suddenly we're thinking about things a little differently. I don't know about you, but I can be very critical about myself. And honestly, I have spent a lot of my life being critical over every little thing about myself. Sure, there were things in my life that I excelled at. There were things in my life that I was good at, but there were a lot of ways that I was absolutely tearing myself down. Are you kind to yourself? Do you speak highly to yourself? Do you encourage yourself? Do you motivate yourself? Do you confirm and reaffirm yourself? Now, of course, the ultimate source of all those things, the confirmation, the reaffirming, all that comes from Christ. But we can still speak nice to ourselves. We can still be kind to ourselves. We can still find a way to see ourselves the way that God sees us. But we're so quick to say things like, oh gosh, I'm so fat. Oh gosh, I'm so dumb. I'm nothing like her, as we're scrolling through social media. Or, oh, I could never do that. That's crazy that they live this life. I'm never going to have that life. Sometimes we just say them flippantly. We say them out loud. We say them in our minds. We say them seriously as well. These are phrases that I think really hurt us in the long run, because at the end of the day, that's not the way that our Lord and Savior sees us. But also, words are important. Words have meaning. And I think that words also can create strongholds in your life. Words can open doors to both good and bad things in your life. And so it really makes you think about what you're actually saying. And ultimately, what that comes down to, the way that you speak about yourself is the way that you think about yourself. And how you think about yourself is ultimately going to determine your destiny, because your mind is extremely powerful. And even if you're not saying these words out loud, you're thinking them. And your mind is a muscle. And we've talked about this before, whatever fires wires. So if you're saying these things about yourself that are negative, it's going to be so much easier for you to think about yourself negatively the next day and the next day and the next day. Or when you show up for that big presentation at work, or when you finally decide to start the business, or when you go on that first date, all you're going to be doing is running through this playlist of all the negative things that you've said in your life, that you've said about yourself as well. And in the Bible, it tells us that it's more of a matter of the heart. Like it takes it a step further. You look in the New Testament and you've got Matthew and Luke both saying that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Do you want negative thoughts about yourself in your heart? That's your heart. Like, we put so much emphasis as human beings as our heart. Our heart leads us. Our heart guides us. Our heart is the home of the Holy Spirit. Like, our heart is powerful. And that negative vitriol is what's coming out of your heart. No, thank you. I don't want any of that. I think oftentimes when we talk about the heart, we're thinking about what we're ruminating on in our minds as well. And the mind can be deceptive, but the mind can also be a powerful tool that can be used. In the Old Testament, talking about matters of the heart, I think it's in Proverbs. It says, "For as he thinks in his heart, so he is." Again, going back to the way that you think about yourself, the way that you speak about yourself, the way that you feel about yourself, all of these things you can change. But the more that you think those things or feel those things, ruminate on those things, the more you start to believe them and the more you start to become them. There's a lot of research out there that talks about, like, what you think is what you become. What you focus on is what you gravitate towards. It's what you start drifting towards. That's why it's so important for us to set our mind on things above. God tells us to seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. He's talking about finding him, looking at him, letting him lead and guide you. That's what we should be setting our minds on. And if we can do that, that's going to change our entire life. Because again, suddenly we're going to start seeing ourselves the way that God sees us. We're going to start believing things about us that God believes about us. We're going to start feeling things about us that God feels about us, which I think is like the ultimate cheat code in life. So rather than how you do anything is how you do everything, how you speak to yourself is how you think and value yourself. So think about that as we move forward this week. What if we took that initial phrase, how you do anything is how you do everything, and we turned it into how you show up for others is how you value others. Now we're thinking about how we interact with people. And I am a firm believer that we are meant for community. We are meant for connection. We're meant for intimacy. I think it's wired into us. I think this is why we are always seeking the higher being. We're always seeking, it's Christ, it's God. We're always seeking God because we value and we need that connection with him. We need that intimacy with him. And I think because we need that from him, we also need that from other people as well. Maybe not as much, but I think we are definitely designed and wired, and it's a part of our DNA to be in communion with one another. And so how you show up for other people is a good indicator of how much you value them. Do you take time to, spend time with your loved ones? Do you, put your phone away when you're spending time with them? Do you make time for their phone calls? Do you make time to visit with them? Like, I'm talking about actually getting to know people and investing in them. How can we pour into others in a way that is meaningful? Well, like I said, face-to-face time without distractions. And maybe it's not you're face-to-face with them, but maybe you're on the phone with them. but you're not doing something else while you're talking to them. You're actually invested in what they're saying. You're invested in their heart. You want to know more about them. You crave to get to know them on a deeper level. I feel like social media has kind of made us into consumers. And we don't really like get down into the nitty gritty, and we're always like on to the next thing, scroll to the next thing. What else can entertain us? Ooh, is this exciting? Oh, I'll move on to this. And that's showing up in the way that we show up with other people. It's like we don't know how to have conversations anymore. We don't know how to get deep with people because we're just so programmed to stay at this surface level. So I think connecting with somebody in a meaningful way is getting down below the surface. We're talking actual communication, not just sending memes to one another. Maybe before you send that text to that person, you think, maybe I should call that person instead. It's so easy to send a text message. And I'm not saying that texting is bad. It's great to get a text message from somebody saying, hey, I'm thinking about you. Hey, just wanted you to know that I love you. Those are great. But a phone call where you can hear their voice is extremely valuable. Listening to hear what they're saying. This is another way that we can connect deeper with somebody, and not listening to then throw in your part, not listening to respond. Listening to somebody and giving them an opportunity to share with you in a place that is safe, a place that is, not immediately turned on its head, giving them a space to speak and to be who they are, I think is so incredibly valuable. And these days it's like we have forgotten how to connect on that level. Again, we're talking about going deeper with people. Sometimes that's just sitting and listening and letting them speak, not feeling like you have to solve their problems, not feeling like you need to offer any kind of feedback, advice, or even any relatability. Sometimes I think that we think we're relating with somebody when we can respond to what they're saying with our own story. Oh, we're so connected now. That's not always the case. Sometimes your story is not warranted. Sometimes you just need to be a sounding board for them. You need to be a place that they can speak without being judged and not being, immediately attacked or forgotten for the sake of telling another story. You know what I mean? So find a way to connect with people, because again, how you show up for other people, how you make time for other people, how you put aside distractions when you're with people shows how you value those people in your life. I think some other areas where this sentence can be transformed, of how you do anything is how you do everything, is how you handle the little things. How you handle the little things is how you're going to handle the big things. I love this phrase because I am such a believer in small things. I'm such a believer in noticing the small things, caring for the small things, investing in the small things, sitting in the small things, because those are preparations for the big things. But they're also things that shouldn't be missed, and things that are just, we did the little things, now we can move on to the big things. Like, they're valuable. They are so important in our lives. And in Luke, I was thinking about this scripture. The one who is faithful in little things is also faithful in much. And the one who is unrighteous in the little things will be unrighteous in much. It matters how we care and how we show up for the little things in our lives. We talked about this with wanting to grow and wanting to reach a certain point and looking forward to things, which is amazing and wonderful and beautiful, especially if you're on a personal growth journey, like there's exciting things ahead, but don't miss the little things right here and right now, because you might need something in these little things. You might need the little things specifically to get to the big things and to steward the big things well. So again, how you handle the little things is how you handle the big things. And what about time? We talked a little bit about this already. I mean, how you spend your time is ultimately going to be how you spend your life. Now, I'm not saying you need to fill up your calendar with a bunch of stuff because, just said, if I'm not spending my time efficiently, wisely, and productively, then I'm not going to live a life that's great. No. It's just taking stock and being honest with how you're spending your time. It's saying, do I really need to watch another episode of this show, or should I maybe get to work on that project I've been thinking about, or maybe engage with my kids a little bit more, or maybe I can get out and explore and be a tourist in my own hometown. You know what I mean? Like we talked about before, life is made up of little moments. It's not always the big things. Those are great to look forward to, and those are definitely where a lot of memories are made. But I think ultimately, though, that's like the 20%. What are you doing with the 80%? You're living in the mundane. You're living in the day-to-day. It doesn't have to be miraculous and spectacular. It just has to be recognized as something that matters. So how you spend your time is ultimately how you're going to spend your life. So be honest with yourself of how you're spending your time. Now that I've come at you in all these different areas of your life, and you're probably thinking, I got a lot to work on. Let me just tell you this. I'm going to build you up a little bit. This, how you do anything is how you do everything, can be flipped entirely on its head to this. How you do anything can be how you do everything. So you might have something in your life that you're really good at. In fact, I know there's something in your life that you are really good at. I want you to think about that thing. What is the thing that you excel in? What is the thing that lights you up and it's a given for you, you're gonna be successful in it, you're gonna get progress in it, you're showing up for it every single day. Identify why you are successful in that thing, and then apply those same principles and habits and practices and disciplines to the other areas where you think you might be struggling a little bit. Use what you are already doing well to your advantage. Use the skills and the gifts that you already have to your advantage in the places where you might lack a little bit, or the places that you want to improve in. Now, ultimately, I think that when we're successful at something, it's because we've done one of three things. One, we've assigned value to whatever that thing is, whatever that person is, whatever the place is. You clean your apartment because, you want to honor the home that you've been given. You've given your home value. You floss your teeth because you have put value on your health and you want to make sure your teeth don't fall out. You've assigned a value to whatever it is that you're successful at. Or you might be creating time for that thing because it's important to you. I think about scheduling workouts and knowing that that time and that day is when you're doing your workout, or that time in that week is when you're doing your workout, because again, it's important to you. Taking care of your body and taking care of your health is important. So you have carved out time for it. Maybe putting date night on the calendar because you value your spouse, you value your partner, and you know that quality time one-on-one is important, because how you show up is for others is how you value others. See how this is all related? It might also be that you have given yourself, or you have found a reward in the thing that you excel at. This can be progress, like maybe your progress in the gym or in your weight loss journey. You're seeing that progress, and so you excel more in taking care of your body or working out or being on this fitness journey, transforming your body. Maybe it's that you actually reward yourself for something that you don't like to do, but it's something that has to be done well. And if you can do it well, it'd be very beneficial for you. I think about laundry. I absolutely hate laundry. I would rather go scrub my bathroom than do laundry. Laundry to me is just that never-ending process. It's easy to dump it in and get it started, but then you have to go, turn it over, and you have to make sure that you're not drying all the stuff that's going to shrink in the dryer. So you got to separate things, and then you got to take it out of the dryer, and then you got to fold it. And if it didn't dry all the way, you have to put it back in the dryer. It's an endless chore, and I cannot stand it. But you can reward yourself for the stuff that maybe you don't like to do. Hey, if I start laundry right now, I can watch another episode of the show that I like while I'm doing laundry, while I'm folding laundry or something like that. There's a reward. So things that you excel at, it's because you've given it value, or you've created time for it, or you have found progress in it, or some sort of reward in it. Or it could be all three. Maybe all three of those things that have encouraged you and pushed you to excel at that thing. So use those same principles for other areas of your life that you think you can improve in for that anything, you know? If I were to give you homework, I would say, I don't want you to look for things that you're like, man, I don't do that so well, so I really have to work on it. I'm such a believer in focusing on things that are positive and allowing that to dictate other things in your life, allowing that to kind of spill over. Like, let's build ourselves up and fill ourselves up with good stuff and overflow into the other stuff. You know what I mean? So we can then fix the bad things. Replacing bad habits with good habits. But I'll say it again, you know, how you do anything is how you do everything. So, what we're taking from this with our new perspective of this phrase that all these people love to use to motivate you, find anything you do well and allow yourself to do everything like that. Rather than looking at everything that you're doing wrong, find something that you're doing right and apply that to everything else that you're doing. So that's my homework for you. Find things that you're good at. Explore why you're good at it, why that habit has stuck for you, but the other ones haven't. And apply the same principles and practices to that other habit so you can get it going, just like the first habit. It's kind of like this habit stacking thing when you think about it. But yeah, so that's the homework that I'm gonna give you for the week. And ultimately, I think a lot of this comes down to mindset. It comes down to habits. It comes down to, figuring those things out. And then it's like rinse and repeat for everything else. I think if you can change your mindset on a lot of things, you can radically change your life. I think there's a reason why in the Bible it says that you can transform yourself by the renewing of your mind. I think that you can absolutely transform your entire life if you can just start fixing what's going on in your brain. So I think next week, that would be a great place for us to go. Talking about mindset, talking about strategies to be more intentional, things that can transform that mindset and establish some good habits for you. But this week, you're finding anything that you do well, and you're gonna start doing everything like that. Make it a good week for yourself. I'll see you next week.